Well, my friends, Google I/O is far behind us now, and we're still trying to process all the crazy Android and AI announcements. But as things go in the tech world, we already have our next big piece of news. In my last Google I/O video, I mentioned we might see a sneak peek of the Pixel 10, but what I absolutely did not expect was for a random user on Twitter to stumble upon Google actively shooting the commercial for it out in the wide open. This is a wild story, guys, and it actually tells us a lot more than we thought about the Pixel 10. So real quick, let me break down what happened, and more importantly, why this leak, combined with what we saw at Google I/O, paints a very interesting picture for Google's next flagship device. Alright, so let's get into what actually happened, because this is easily one of the goofiest Pixel leaks we've seen in quite some time. Long story short, a production crew was spotted in Vancouver, reportedly by a user named @MarksGonePublic on Twitter, actively filming a commercial for none other than the Pixel 10. And these weren't just some blurry, far off, hard to read shots. These days, the zoom on smartphone cameras are pretty good, and in the shots we got to see, it featured the device itself and some storyboard images that are meant to help the production crew visualize what shots they should be going for. The most prominent tagline that was visible is, quote, "Ask more of your phone," and we'll definitely circle back to why that's so important in a minute. We also saw shots of the physical design, including close-ups of the power button, the volume rocker, the camera lens containing the flash and thermometer sensor, so we know at least the temperature sensor is coming back. We also saw the back of the phone, and I will say that's an area I'm somewhat confused. This phone seems to be the Pixel 10 Pro, as it's smaller and has the thermometer, which is a pro level feature, but in these images it clearly shows the device has a glossy finish while the current 9 Pro has a matte finish. Just something to note. I really hope Google doesn't go glossy for any of their pro level devices, as the matte finish feels better and is easier to keep clean. Regardless, we do have a few incredibly clear takeaways from this leak. The first and most obvious aspect is that the software and its capabilities are going to be a huge focus for the Pixel 10. That tagline, quote, "Ask more of your phone," to me has a lot to it. If you watched our Google I/O coverage, you would know Google showed off a ton of demos of what I assume will be future features, and that tagline makes a lot of sense for a device that may debut them in the near future. Think about the Project Astra demo at I/O, for example. We saw Gemini could not only answer questions, but actively take action on your behalf. Things like making a phone call, finding specific information within a PDF, and handling various multi-step tasks without even needing the user to touch the phone at all. It showed us a glimpse of a future where AI is a genuinely reliable assistant for your day-to-day functions, as opposed to just being a simple chatbot. Which is why Google's been so focused on multimodality, where an AI can understand and interact with text, images, audio, and video, which is going to be massive for a virtual assistant of this scale. And that's why, with this ad leak combined with what we saw at Google I/O, it gives us such a deep insight as to what we can expect in the future. Google isn't just trying to make smartphones that are our personal devices to access our information anymore. To me, they're aiming to transform them into truly intelligent assistants. And honestly, I think that's what most people really want from AI anyway. All the other stuff like image generation, summarization, transcription, help me write features, those are all nice. Don't get me wrong, but I still see a lot of comments from regular everyday users who aren't relying or using that kind of tech on a daily basis. But an AI assistant that can proactively do things for you, that's something I could see the average consumer using constantly, especially if Google nails the execution. This thinking directly aligns with the rumors we've been hearing about with a supercharged assistant, previously codenamed Pixie, and now seemingly evolving into what might be called Pixel Sense. Pixel Sense is rumored to be a deeply integrated AI assistant that understands the context of what's on your device. That means your location, the time of day, your typical usage patterns, and much more. The idea is that it could anticipate your needs, proactively offering relevant information before you even ask for it, and it's supposed to be integrated across various Google apps and services. When you put all of this together, the Google I/O demos, the "Ask More of Your Phone" tagline, the Pixel Sense rumors, it paints a really clear picture. This is Google's big strategy to differentiate the Pixel, at least in my opinion. The potential for a phone that can effectively do almost anything you need just by asking is huge, no doubt. Of course, this is still speculation based on what we know so far, far, but everything does seem to line up. Now, we did also get some concrete info about the design, which is always helpful. Based on the ad shoot, the physical design is effectively confirmed to stay exactly the same as the Pixel 9 series. And you want to know what? I think that's actually perfectly fine this year. In my eyes, Google has landed on a signature look with the camera bar and the overall aesthetic. It's super recognizable and generally well received, and it does help solidify the Pixel's brand identity, making it stand out more in a crowded Android market. From a practical standpoint, keeping the design largely the same probably helps Google save a ton of money on manufacturing. This allows them to channel those resources into the internal upgrades like the much anticipated Tensor G5 chip, which we will talk about in a minute because there is some new information about it. Plus, if the form factor truly is a one-to-one match, last year's accessories like cases should hopefully be compatible, which is a nice bonus for both users and case manufacturers alike. On the flip side, I know some people will probably perceive it as a bit boring or maybe even lazy for Google to use the same design as last year, and trust me, as someone that truly appreciates smartphone design, I'm always excited for a fresh look every year. But for the Pixel 10, I don't think we need change for the sake of it, especially when software seems to be such a big focus. And at least for this iteration, reusing last year's design is pretty much a non-issue in my book. That said, while the physical build might be the same, there are still some ways that Google is looking to change things up a bit. Very recently, we got rumor about a new set of colors, which is actually pretty important as color options will become one of the primary ways Google can differentiate the Pixel 10 series from the Pixel 9. For the standard Pixel 10 models, it's rumored the device will be available in Obsidian, of course, blue, iris, which is more of a purple color, and limoncello, otherwise known as yellow, which tells me the regular Pixel 10 is going for a more expressive and varied color range that should hopefully help them stand out a bit more than usual. Obsidian obviously is always a safe bet for many users out there, but the blue, purple, and yellow options sound like fun additions that I'm personally hoping will be really vibrant and really saturated takes on these colors. For the Pro models, they seem to be sticking with a more sophisticated, some might say muted color scheme. We're expecting obsidian, porcelain, and two new colors, sterling gray and green, so it seems Google is following the common industry trend of offering more subdued, quote-unquote, professional colors for the Pro models, while the more playful options are reserved for these standard-level devices. Obviously, we'll have to wait to see how these final shades and finishes look in person to really judge them. Personally, I'm in the camp that I would love to see at least one interesting, out there, special-looking color for the Pro lineup each year, but maybe that's just me. Please let me know your thoughts on that down below. Now we should talk about what's going on with the Tensor G5 because there are some big news regarding Google's reported partnership with TSMC, and this has some pretty massive implications for the Pixel lineup over the next few years. As many of you know by now, Google is moving away from Samsung to have TSMC manufacture its future Tensor chips. The Tensor G5, expected to be in the Pixel 10, will crazy enough be their first fully custom Tensor chip built from the ground up with Google's specific priorities in mind. To me, the most important aspects are deep optimization for AI and machine learning workloads, which is important because that means more AI features can hopefully run directly on device, making them faster, more responsive, and also more private. The Tensor G5 is also reported to be running on a 3nm process. This should be big because a smaller process node generally translates to improved power proficiency and better thermal management, two big criticisms of Tensor chips in the past. So the hope is the Pixel 10 can at least compete with, if not surpass, chips like the Snapdragon 8 series from an efficiency perspective, leading to better battery life and less overheating during intense tasks. These two things are by far the biggest expectations I personally have for the Tensor G5. And here's something else to keep in mind. The real reason I'm even talking about this, it's reported that Google has locked in a long-term commitment with TSMC for this custom silicon, a partnership that could be in place from the Pixel 10 all the way to the Pixel 14. For us, that means, for better or for worse, this new fully custom Tensor chip architecture is here to stay for quite some time. On the bright side, if the initial performance of this new chip is fantastic, that is great news. If it's not quite there yet, we know Google has several generations to refine and perfect it. I think now, more than ever, consumers are in a powerful position because Google has a lot to prove with this chip. And even better, since this chip design is fully custom, it should mean Google can tailor future iterations faster and more specifically specifically to meet the needs of the user. So again, this is a wait and see conversation, no questions asked, but the potential is definitely there. Lastly, I wanted to touch on Material 3 Expressive a bit, especially with now what we know about the Pixel 10 series. By the time the Pixel 10 releases, Material 3 Expressive should be much further along in its rollout. The initial QPR1 beta that introduced some of these elements is already looking great in my opinion. It still needs refinement, don't get me wrong, but it's nothing really major that needs to be changed. The foundation we have now is incredibly solid and it really just needs to be built upon. More importantly, I'm really intrigued to see how comprehensively Google will embrace this design language within their own apps. I truly think we'll only feel the full effect and benefit of Material 3 Expressive when their core system apps like the Dialer app, Gmail, Google Photos, YouTube Music, the Play Store, and many more are all consistently redesigned in this new aesthetic. Last we checked, Google's plan for this design language is to eventually make its way to all Google apps. For me, the big question is the timeline. Hopefully, the most important and frequently used Google apps will be updated by the time the Pixel 10 launches. This would give us a much more fuller, more cohesive realization of what Material 3 Expressive truly has to offer and to see how to make the software experience feel fresh alongside all the new AI capabilities. So my friends, there you have it, a pretty unexpected and revealing look at the upcoming Pixel 10, all thanks to a rather suspiciously public commercial shoot. It seems clear that Google is doubling down on AI as its key differentiator, aiming to make the Pixel 10 a truly intelligent companion if things play out how we expect. The combination of the new Tensor G5 chip, advanced AI software like Pixel Sense, and a maturing Material 3 Expressive design language could make for a very interesting year for Pixel fans, even if the external design does still seem familiar. With that said, leave a comment and please let me know your thoughts. Does the focus on agentic AI excite you for the Pixel 10? Are you okay with the design staying the same if the internals and software are a big leap forward? And if not, what changes were you hoping to have for the Pixel 10 series that might not have come based on the rumors we know so far? Please let me know all your opinions down in the comments below. I am so curious to hear what the Android community is thinking about this. In the meantime, my friends, I'm getting out of here. This has been Jordan Floyd with 9to5 Google. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.